More than a year into the Israel-Hamas war, the conflict shows no signs of de-escalation. In the last 48 hours alone, airstrikes and rocket fire have claimed hundreds of lives, and fears of a broader regional conflict loom large. In today's video, we'll break down the latest developments on the battlefield, the rising humanitarian toll, and the international response. Over the past 2 days, Israeli forces have significantly intensified their ground operations inside Gaza. The primary focus of these operations has been on dismantling Hamas's extensive tunnel networks, which are used for smuggling weapons and moving fighters undetected. These tunnels, often referred to as the Gaza Metro, are a critical component of Hamas's military strategy, allowing them to launch surprise attacks and evade Israeli surveillance. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, have been meticulously mapping out these tunnels and deploying specialized units to destroy them. In addition to the ground campaign, the Israeli Air Force has been conducting a series of heavy airstrikes. These airstrikes have been targeting key Hamas command centers, weapons storage facilities, and other strategic locations. The air campaign has been particularly intense in northern Gaza, where many of Hamas's leadership and infrastructure are believed to be concentrated. The precision of these airstrikes is intended to minimize civilian casualties, but the densely populated nature of Gaza makes this a challenging task. Meanwhile, in response to the Israeli offensive, Hamas has launched a barrage of rockets into central Israel. Over the past 48 hours, more than 100 rockets have been fired, targeting major cities such as Tel Aviv and Ashkelon. These rocket attacks are intended to disrupt daily life in Israel and demonstrate Hamas's ability to strike deep into Israeli territory. The psychological impact of these attacks on the Israeli population is significant, causing widespread fear and anxiety. Israel's Iron Dome defense system has been working around the clock to intercept these incoming rockets. The Iron Dome is a highly advanced missile defense system designed to detect, track, and destroy short-range rockets and artillery shells. While the system has successfully intercepted the majority of the rockets, some have managed to get through, hitting civilian areas and causing casualties. The effectiveness of the Iron Dome has been a critical factor in reducing the potential damage and loss of life from these rocket attacks. However, the situation remains tense, with both sides showing no signs of backing down. The conflict is not confined to Gaza. In the north, tensions with Hezbollah are escalating rapidly. In the past 48 hours, Hezbollah has intensified rocket attacks on northern Israel, prompting Israeli airstrikes on Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces successfully eliminated a senior Hezbollah commander responsible for anti-tank missile attacks. Experts warn that this front could lead to a wider regional war, drawing in Lebanon and other neighboring countries. The situation in Gaza is dire. The relentless airstrikes have turned the once bustling city into a war zone, with buildings reduced to rubble and the skyline marred by smoke and fire. The conflict has left the residents in a state of constant fear and uncertainty. The ongoing airstrikes have killed over 43,000 Palestinians since the conflict began in October 2023. Families are torn apart, and the streets are filled with the cries of those who have lost their loved ones. The scale of destruction is unimaginable, with entire neighborhoods wiped out in a matter of minutes. In the last 48 hours alone, hundreds of civilians have been killed or injured. Emergency responders are overwhelmed, working tirelessly to rescue those trapped under the debris. The chaos and panic are palpable, as people scramble to find safety amidst the relentless bombings. Hospitals are struggling with a shortage of medical supplies, and the influx of injured civilians has pushed the healthcare system to its breaking point. Doctors and nurses are working around the clock, often without the necessary equipment or medication to treat the wounded. The scenes inside the hospitals are heart-wrenching, with patients lying on the floors and in hallways due to the lack of space. Humanitarian agencies have warned of a full-scale collapse of Gaza's healthcare system. The lack of medical supplies combined with the constant influx of casualties has created a dire situation. Humanitarian workers are doing their best to provide aid, but the challenges are immense. Aid convoys have been delayed, further worsening the crisis. The blockade has prevented essential supplies from reaching those in need, exacerbating the already dire conditions. Food, water, and medical supplies are running dangerously low, and the people of Gaza are facing a humanitarian catastrophe. As UN agencies call for immediate ceasefires to allow relief efforts into the region, the international community watches in horror. protests have erupted worldwide, demanding an end to the violence and immediate action to provide humanitarian aid. The situation in Gaza is a stark reminder of the devastating impact of war on innocent civilians and the urgent need for peace and resolution. As the fighting continues, negotiations over hostages held by Hamas remain stalled. The situation remains tense and volatile, with both sides entrenched in their positions. The hostages, a mix of civilians and soldiers, are caught in the middle of this geopolitical struggle, their fate uncertain as diplomatic efforts falter. Hundreds of Israelis, including civilians and soldiers, were taken captive during Hamas's surprise attack on Israel in October 2023. This unexpected assault has not only escalated the conflict but also deepened the humanitarian crisis. Families of the captives are left in anguish, holding on to hope amidst the chaos. The international community watches closely, aware that the resolution of this hostage situation could set a precedent for future conflicts. International efforts to mediate a ceasefire have so far failed, with both sides unwilling to concede ground. The United Nations has convened multiple emergency sessions, yet the resolutions passed have had little impact on the ground. Diplomats from various countries are engaged in intense discussions, trying to find a common ground. The complexity of the situation is exacerbated by historical grievances and the lack of trust between the parties involved. Western nations, including the US and the European Union, are pushing for limited ceasefires to allow for humanitarian aid. These temporary pauses in fighting are crucial for delivering much-needed supplies to affected areas. Humanitarian organizations are on standby, ready to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. However, the implementation of these ceasefires is fraught with challenges, as sporadic violence continues to disrupt aid efforts. However, regional powers like Iran have doubled down on their support for Hamas, making the prospects of peace even more complex. Iran's involvement adds another layer of difficulty to the already intricate diplomatic landscape. Support rallies for Hamas in various parts of the Middle East highlight the deep-seated divisions and the regional power dynamics at play. The international community remains divided on how to address the influence of these regional actors, further complicating the path to peace. Amidst the political maneuvering, the human cost of the conflict continues to rise. Refugee camps are swelling with displaced individuals, and the need for humanitarian aid is more pressing than ever. Organizations on the ground are working tirelessly to provide relief, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. The international community is called upon to increase support and ensure that aid reaches those who need it most. Despite the grim situation, there are glimmers of hope. Peace rallies and calls for diplomatic solutions are gaining momentum. Civil society groups and peace advocates are urging for a renewed focus on dialogue and negotiation. Their efforts remind us that amidst the darkness, there is a collective yearning for peace and stability. The road ahead is undoubtedly challenging, but the resilience and determination of those advocating for peace offer a beacon of hope. The global response to the ongoing conflict has been varied and complex. Numerous countries have issued statements condemning the violence and calling for an immediate ceasefire. International organizations are stepping up their efforts to mediate and bring about a resolution. Despite these efforts, the situation remains dire, with no end in sight. Many Western nations have imposed economic sanctions on entities supporting Hamas, aiming to cut off financial resources that fuel the conflict. These sanctions are intended to pressure the involved parties to come to the negotiating table. However, the effectiveness of these measures is still debated as the conflict persists and the humanitarian crisis deepens. Meanwhile, regional powers continue to play a significant role. Countries like Iran remain steadfast in their support for Hamas, complicating international efforts to broker peace. This support is not just financial but also ideological, contributing to the intractability of the situation. The United Nations has been at the forefront of diplomatic efforts, but their resolutions have so far failed to bring about significant change. The Security Council remains divided, with veto powers often blocking decisive actions. This division highlights the complexities of international diplomacy and the challenges of achieving a unified response. In addition to sanctions, there have been increasing calls for an arms embargo, aiming to limit the flow of weapons into the conflict zone. Such measures are seen as crucial steps towards de-escalation, though their implementation faces significant hurdles. As the international community grapples with the crisis, the toll on civilians continues to mount. The need for a coordinated and effective response has never been more urgent. While the path to peace is fraught with challenges, the global outcry for an end to the violence provides a glimmer of hope. The ongoing conflict has had a profound impact on global markets, causing fluctuations and uncertainty across various sectors. Energy markets have been particularly volatile, with oil prices experiencing significant spikes due to fears of supply disruptions. This instability has ripple effects on global economies, affecting everything from transportation costs to consumer prices. In the financial sector, stock markets around the world have reacted with heightened sensitivity. Investors are wary of the potential for prolonged conflict and its implications for global stability. As a result, there has been a noticeable shift towards safer assets, such as gold and government bonds, as traders seek to mitigate risks. The agricultural sector is also feeling the strain. The conflict has disrupted supply chains, leading to increased prices for staples like wheat and corn. This, in turn, affects food security in vulnerable regions, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, the tech industry is not immune to the turmoil. Companies with operations or supply chains in the affected regions are facing production delays and logistical challenges. This has led to concerns about the availability of electronic components and the potential for further disruptions in the global supply chain. As the conflict continues, the economic impact is likely to grow, underscoring the interconnectedness of our global economy. Policymakers and business leaders are closely monitoring the situation, hoping for a swift resolution that can restore stability and confidence in the markets. The need for diplomatic efforts to end the violence is not just a humanitarian imperative, but also an economic necessity for the global community. As the conflict rages on, a significant refugee crisis has emerged. Thousands of families are being forced to flee their homes in search of safety, often with little more than the clothes on their backs. Border crossings are overwhelmed, and makeshift camps are springing up, struggling to accommodate the influx of displaced individuals. International aid organizations are mobilizing to provide essential support. Efforts are ramping up to deliver food, water, medical supplies, and shelter to those in need. Volunteers and humanitarian workers are on the ground, working tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of refugees. Despite these efforts, the scale of the crisis is daunting. Many refugees are facing harsh conditions, with limited access to basic necessities. The international community is being urged to increase support and funding to address the immediate needs and long-term challenges of displaced populations. Amid the hardships, stories of resilience and solidarity are emerging. Communities are coming together to support one another, and acts of kindness are providing glimmers of hope. The road ahead is fraught with challenges, but with continued aid and international cooperation, there is hope for a brighter future for those affected by this crisis. As the refugee crisis continues to unfold, the political ramifications are becoming increasingly apparent. Governments around the world are being forced to reassess their foreign policies and diplomatic strategies. In many countries, the influx of refugees is sparking intense debates about immigration, border security, and humanitarian responsibility. Political leaders are under pressure to find solutions that balance national interests with international obligations. Meanwhile, the conflict is reshaping alliances and power dynamics within the region. Long-standing partnerships are being tested, and new coalitions are forming in response to the evolving situation. The actions of key players on the global stage are being closely scrutinized, with significant implications for future diplomatic relations. The international community is grappling with the challenge of addressing the immediate humanitarian needs while also working towards a long-term resolution to the conflict. The decisions made in the coming months will have far-reaching consequences, not only for the region, but for the global political landscape. As the dust begins to settle, the world turns its eyes toward the future. The prospects for peace are fragile but not impossible. International mediators are stepping up their efforts to bring both sides to the negotiation table. The focus is on achieving a sustainable ceasefire and laying the groundwork for long-term peace talks. Video footage of international diplomats arriving for peace talks. Video, images of previous peace agreements being signed. Video, clips of communities rebuilding and people returning to their daily lives. Video, scenes of humanitarian aid being distributed. Video, a hopeful image of a sunrise over the conflict zone. The journey towards peace is fraught with challenges, but there is a collective determination to find a resolution. It is a time for hope, resilience, and unwavering dedication to a better future. The next steps will be critical in shaping a peaceful and prosperous era for the region and the world. As we conclude this comprehensive overview, it's important to reflect on the gravity of the situation and the efforts being made towards resolution. The conflict has left deep scars, but it has also ignited a global response characterized by resilience, solidarity, and hope. Video footage of international leaders addressing the UN, video clips of humanitarian aid being distributed, video, scenes of communities coming together to rebuild, video footage of peace talks and negotiations continuing, video, a hopeful image of children playing amidst the ruins, symbolizing hope for a brighter future. While the path to lasting peace is undeniably challenging, the collective will of the international community and the affected populations offers a beacon of hope. It is a time for healing, rebuilding, and unwavering commitment to a peaceful future for all. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we remain hopeful for the days to come. As we wrap up today's video, we want to take a moment to address some of the questions and comments you've shared with us. Your engagement is crucial, and we appreciate the thoughtful inquiries and insights you bring to the conversation. Video, compilation of user comments and questions displayed on screen. Question 1. What are the primary challenges in achieving a lasting peace in the region? Answer. The primary challenges include deep-seated historical grievances, political instability, and the influence of external powers. Additionally, the humanitarian crisis and the need for rebuilding infrastructure add layers of complexity. Video, footage of peace talks and negotiations. Question 2. How can international communities effectively support humanitarian efforts in Gaza? Answer. International communities can support by providing financial aid, medical supplies, and essential resources. Furthermore, advocating for diplomatic solutions and peace talks can help create a more stable environment for aid distribution. Video, clips of humanitarian aid being distributed. Question 3. What role do grassroots movements play in resolving this conflict? Answer. Grassroots movements are vital as they often represent the voices of those directly affected. They can mobilize communities, advocate for peace, and foster understanding and reconciliation at the local level. Video, scenes of community activism and peaceful protests. Thank you for your questions and for being an active part of this dialogue. If you have more questions or insights, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Together, we can continue to explore and understand these complex issues. Video, footage of diverse people coming together in community efforts. Stay tuned for more updates, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses and discussions. As we come to the end of today's video, let's take a moment to reflect on the gravity and complexity of the situation. The conflict in the region is a multifaceted issue that impacts countless lives, demanding our continuous attention and empathy. Video, footage of war-torn areas transitioning to scenes of rebuilding and hope. While the path to peace is fraught with challenges, it is crucial to remember that every effort counts. From international diplomacy to grassroots movements, every action brings us a step closer to a more peaceful and just world. Video, clips of international diplomats shaking hands and community activists working together. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza underscores the urgent need for global cooperation and support. By staying informed and actively participating in efforts to provide aid and advocate for peace, we can make a meaningful difference. Video, scenes of humanitarian aid distribution and children receiving medical care. Thank you for joining us on this journey of understanding and exploration. Your engagement and support are invaluable as we navigate these critical issues. Together, we can foster a world where peace and justice prevail. Video, diverse communities coming together in solidarity and hope. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos and discussions. Until next time, take care and stay informed. Video, ending montage of hopeful scenes and concluding text. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged. As we wrap up today's video, we want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible efforts of everyone involved in bringing this content to you. Video, behind-the-scenes footage of the production team working diligently. From researchers and writers to editors and voiceover artists, each member of our team plays a crucial role in ensuring that we deliver accurate and thoughtful content. Video, clips of researchers poring over documents and writers brainstorming ideas. We also want to extend our heartfelt thanks to the organizations and individuals who have provided invaluable insights and resources. Video, scenes of interviews and collaborations with experts. Additionally, we are deeply grateful to our viewers for your ongoing support and engagement. Your feedback and participation are what drive us to continue exploring and addressing important global issues. Video, footage of viewer comments and interactions on social media. Finally, we'd like to acknowledge the stock footage and music providers who have contributed to enhancing the visual and auditory experience of our videos. Video. Clips showcasing various stock footage and music credits. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Together, we can continue to shed light on critical topics and inspire positive change. Text. Thank you for your support. Together, we make a difference. As we conclude this video, we want to ensure you have access to additional resources and links for further exploration of the topics discussed. Video. Screen recording of a web browser navigating through a list of curated resources. Video. Clips of scrolling through detailed articles and books on the Israel-Palestine conflict. First, we've compiled a comprehensive list of articles, reports, and books that provide in-depth analysis and perspectives. Next, we encourage you to visit the websites of humanitarian organizations actively working on the ground. Your support and contributions can make a significant difference. Video. Scenes of humanitarian aid efforts and organization websites. For those interested in staying updated, we've included links to reliable news sources and social media channels that frequently cover developments in the region. Video. Clips of news websites and social media feeds. Additionally, we've provided educational materials and documentaries for a more profound understanding of the historical and political context. Video. Snippets from educational videos and documentaries. Finally, if you have any questions or need further information, feel free to reach out through our contact page. We are here to assist and provide clarity. Video. Screen recording of the contact page on the channel's website.